Wild Guns is an arcade shooter set in the fictional Wild West, where steam-powered machines, advanced robots, and gangs of bandits and villains are rooting and tooting about. And it's up to you to put them back in line. You have not one, but four long arms of the law to choose from. The well-rounded Clint, the agile Annie, the tough gal Doris, and the adorable Bull. The style of gameplay is rather odd for this one. The button layout is simple enough: move side to side, jump, shoot, use a bomb. However, aiming is tied to movement, meaning anytime you want to aim your reticle at an enemy, you also have to move your character. This creates a balancing act of avoiding enemy fire while aiming to take down said enemy units. And when you do fire, you're cemented in place, but not necessarily helpless. You have options of defensive maneuvers, such as dodge rolling while firing, shooting certain projectiles down, a double jump to avoid ground fire, melee attacks for those who approach you closely, a lasso to hold or slow enemies temporarily, and your explosives, which give you a brief moment of invulnerability. Each character does offer a difference in playstyle, having their own strengths and weaknesses. Clint is the most well-rounded of the group, pretty much the aforementioned method of gameplay. Annie has a longer and faster jump and a mortar rather than the dynamite box. Doris deals out more damage and hits in an AoE, and her dodge roller is replaced with a very quick dash which doesn't remove the charge attack, and she does have a thunder punch for melee AoE as well. However, she has very slow movement, making her quite difficult to avoid things as needed, especially when deflecting bullets like Clint and Annie. Bullet is a good boy. Okay, let's be fair. Bullet has the most mobility, being able to auto-target areas with the use of his trusty robot pal while freely moving about on foot, or paw. He can also hover for a limited time for greater avoidance of hazards. However, he is limited by the fact that he can only auto-target, which can get a bit confusing when trying to hit certain enemies while dodging. It's Western, it's techie, it's steam-powered, everything is a lovely form of, yeah, that makes sense. Or what fever dream of Giovanni Battista Caprone am I looking at? Regardless, Wild Guns still keeps a good sense of consistency with stage and character design. The sounds have that Natsume ring to them, digging deep into my memory in the best of ways. Wish I could say the same for the music though. It's not bad. Tracks have a spaghetti western-esque approach with some high-energy arcade flair. However, I think back on them and for the life of me cannot separate the tracks in my head. They all blend together a little too closely for my taste. Surprisingly, I didn't have a lot of trouble with the last stage. The enemies you face up against are some of the mini-bosses from previous areas, and dare I say, reasonably dispersed, or maybe a little too dispersed. All of the bullet hell I was dealing with before doesn't feel all that intense here. Even the final boss of the game is not as much of a challenge compared to the others. But the final showdown ends with victory. Jump out of the place before it blows, and all is well with the Wild West. Wild Guns Reloaded hits the ground running, catches the eye with its unique take on arcade shooters, handles the themes rather well visually, even though it struggles a bit with the music, being a bit too similar to remember properly. The small touches like reticles changing shape based on weapon type does pull the heartstrings a bit, but sadly not enough to make up for the lackluster ending. If it wasn't for the multiplayer aspect of this game, I don't think I'd find myself wanting to play a whole lot more than I have with the 2.5 hours I've sunken into it solo. Wild Guns Reloaded skedaddles by just shy of a 3, getting a 2 out of 5. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.